This podcast may contain discussions of graphic violence, unsettling themes, supernatural phenomena, and other topics that some listeners may find disturbing or triggering. Listener discretion is advised. This podcast is intended for entertainment purposes only. The opinions expressed are simply those of the individual hosts and do not represent the profession of psychology or constitute professional advice. Welcome back to the Secret Passage podcast. I am your host, Dana Vespoli, and with me is my co-host, Shannon Rogers.
That's me.
Oh man, we are recording a little later than we normally do, but that's okay. With the case that we're doing, with the episode that we're doing, we're talking about the Idaho 4 murder case that recently wrapped up. And there was just so much more information coming out with the lift of the gag order. So we just kept getting more and more and more information. But before we get going with that, Shannon, did you happen to wander down any secret passages this past week?
I did. So I've been thinking a lot about unpopular opinions because I harbor so many of them. But
As do
also,
I.
okay, good, because I'm going to ask you about yours. So I told you how Tim was playing poker recently, right? And he got home like 4:30 in the morning. And it was, remember that commercial from the 80s where I think it was about domestic violence and like the woman's asleep and the guy comes home super late and he cracks open the door and he's like, "Ah, the little woman." Do you remember this?
I don't remember
It
that.
was so dark. It was this commercial. And basically, it was like alluding to something. He was going to do something
Assault
to her
her, perhaps.
or something,
Sure.
or like, yeah. So anyway, that's what it was like. No, but he came home at 4:30 in the morning. It was like, whoa. But he had been playing poker with they named their little poker crew the Roy Boys. So I want to give a shout out to the Roy Boys. And it's like return on investment boys, something.
Right.
So they were playing poker, and then Tim and his friend Lucas got into this big argument about Sinners. Because Lucas was like, "Sinners is the best movie. Oh my God, it's so good." And Tim did not like it at all. So they were arguing the whole night about it. And finally, at the very end, someone exploded and was like, "Shut up." And so he was telling me about that. And hi, Lucas. This is a shout out to Wookie.
Lucas is like, I still think it's the best movie ever.
Truly. Lucas, leave that in the comments. So anyway, we're thinking about that, and I realized like there's a show that I absolutely hate that people love. Have you seen it, Poker Face?
I have not seen it. That's the one with Natasha Lyonne, right?
So I love Natasha Lyonne as a human. Like I think she's so cool and she has a cool voice and she has really cool hair and a cool style. But in this show, her character is so annoying. It's like Natasha Lyonne times 1,000, and it's like it's got this weird sort of kitschy kind of vibe or something, and she's always kind of like it's like she's got this attitude like it was guy, like just like kind
That's
of
totally her, the way she sounds.
yeah.
Hey.
Yeah. So that's one of my unpopular opinions. I cannot stand that show. And I have many more, but I was curious if you have any TV shows or movies or things
That everyone loves and
Mhm.
I hate.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there's one, and I actually got into an argument with someone about this movie, and it was the movie Y tu Mama Tambien.
Oh yeah.
I hated that movie. I hated that movie. It annoyed me so much. It was such a try hard movie. I love Gael Garcia Bernal, like he's great in it, but it was just so like it felt really lazy.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's there was so much that was so obvious, like there's the telltale like death rattle that happens when the main actress, she's like
Oh yeah.
ooh, I wonder if she is going to die at the end. But I
Someone's getting
really,
consumption.
yeah, exactly. And then it's just like, oh, this summer they'll never forget. She made them men or whatever. It was just it annoyed me. So there was that one. I thought it was dumb. Beautiful looking.
Mhm.
But I also feel like there's maybe not so much now, but there's a period of time when it seemed like people would conflate like a good looking movie with a good quality, good writing, good
Yes.
acting, and all that. And so, yeah, there's that one. There's a ton where I'm like, am I the only one that fucking hates this or
Yeah.
thinks this isn't good? So
Yeah.
that's mine. I'm trying to think of a TV show that everyone loves, and I just can't get behind. I'm trying to think. I started watching Yellow Jackets.
Ooh, it's supposed to be good.
The first season is incredible, but I feel like no one thought it through.
Mhm.
So like there's a strong first season, and then it's almost like the writers all like got head injuries and like don't know what the fuck to do now. And so it's just a thing where I'm like, I'm not sure I'm supposed to be hating Shauna's character, but I kind of am. And then can we figure out what the fuck is going on in the wilderness? Is there a supernatural element or not?
Mm, mm,
And then
mm.
all this kind of weird thing, and then it got really camp. Like I
Mhm.
felt like the first season was not campy at all. Like I was like, this is amazing, and this kind of meditation on female relationships and teenagers and coming out as gay. Like there's a lot going on.
Mhm.
How does one move from that kind of trauma and navigate their way through the world now?
Mhm.
All of this stuff, and then it's like it was up here, and then it's like shh. So
Yeah.
I started season 3, and I'm like, I don't know that I want to keep watching. It's gotten really comedic in a way that just doesn't feel. It's like very different show now. Like it doesn't understand what it's doing,
That's how I
and
feel
that's a
about
shame.
Last of Us. Yeah.
Oh, really? With The Last of
Yeah,
Us?
we
Yeah,
gave up on the 2nd season.
yeah.
It just feels like it's gonna turn into an annoying The Walking Dead forever zombie.
Funny you should say that. The twins were well, mainly like one of my older twin is was a huge Walking Dead fan. Mainly Rick Grimes, huge Rick
Mhm.
Grimes fan.
Aw,
I know,
that's
but
cute.
I know he
What
quotes
about
from it sometimes.
Carl? He didn't like Carl?
I'll ask him about Carl,
Carl's
but
his
he said
son.
the same thing where like Walking Dead just shit the bed. It's no Sopranos, no Breaking. I mean, there's so many examples of television, like television series that just fucking nailed it and just stayed solid for the most part. Sopranos, Breaking Bad,
The Wire.
The Wire, 6 Feet Under for me. I bawled my eyes out. The series finale, I was like bawling. I was like,
Oh.
oh, oh, like so much love for all the characters
Yeah.
and all that. But that, yeah. So it's just a thing where I'm like, it's been done, guys. It's been done. They've managed to, you know. So I totally went off. Sorry.
That's okay. I like it. Um,
Yeah.
how about you? Did you go down any secret passages?
Oh man, yes. I know. I was complaining to you before we started. Yeah. I just have to weigh in on this reaction to Sydney Sweeney and the American Eagle ads.
Yeah.
I just want to say, as a woman of color who has experienced fucking racism, I was a teen model for a while, from about 14 to 18 years old. And I remember getting notes from my agency like, hey, don't tan too much this summer. You'll look too ethnic. It's kind of racist, kind of weird. There won't be as many jobs for you if you're too dark skinned. And told, hey, you look like you're gaining weight. You need to
Mm.
slim down. And I was 5'7" and 115 pounds.
Oh yeah.
Like that's, yeah. And so that was kind of the messaging when I was young. And it's a thing now where I'm sitting here and I see Sydney Sweeney and, come across my feed in these ads, and she's healthy looking. She's got,
Mhm.
big natural boobs. She doesn't have like a round ass. She's got a slightly thicker waist. And it looks gorgeous, right?
I mean, I'm like a flat butt, thick waist lady, and I'm like, yes. When I saw her
Yeah,
get into that car without like a cutout at her waistline, I was like, wow,
yeah,
that's pretty revolutionary.
yeah.
Right? Yeah. Anyway.
And it's just a thing where I'm just seeing a woman with a healthy looking body, and I'm so happy, average height, healthy looking body. Does she have perfect symmetry in her face? No, I love her for that. I love the fact
Hmm.
that she's not perfect, but she's gorgeous.
Yep.
She's a gorgeous girl. And hearing this shit, being critical, saying that this is Nazi propaganda. I'm going to send you something real quick, and I want you to tell me what it looks like to you. Okay?
I heard a linguist talking about this, by the way, saying that the use of the word genes evokes like a network around that about eugenics. And I'm like, didn't evoke that for me.
Yeah.
Like maybe you should look at your own mind for a moment.
Yeah. Check your phone. Check your phone. These are coming through. Tell me what that looks like to you.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Okay.
Yeah. You want to know what that is? People watching this. This is the recent spring Ralph Lauren ad campaign with in the first ad there's a very prep school looking white guy. The guy in the center is he's a very handsome black man. There's a white woman next to him and an Asian man next to her. That is the recent spring campaign from Ralph Lauren. The next ad, three really fucking striking black guys and then what appears to be a mixed race girl. And the next ad over, I mean, this keeps going.
A pretty diverse crew.
Yeah, the art the head at Ralph Lauren right now, his name is James Jeter. He's black. The first black gentleman to head Ralph Lauren, and that's happening. That's a thing. That's a thing. You wouldn't have seen that. You wouldn't have seen that when I was a kid trying to make it and not getting a whole shit ton of bookings, you know.
Yeah.
So miss me with the fucking eugenics bullshit. You know what I mean? I'm sorry Sydney Sweeney has blonde hair and blue eyes, but to say she doesn't have good genes, and having good genes doesn't mean let's kill anyone who is not blonde haired and blue eyed. It drives me up the fucking wall. I'm so excited to
Yeah.
see a woman with a woman's body when we've got girls starving themselves or putting shit in their face in their
Uh,
early 20s, fucking putting doing the Brazilian butt lift things, not thinking they're enough as they are.
yes. I mean, I saw that flat butt and I was like, yeah. Cause I mean, it's just like I mean, people say it all the time. It's nice to see yourself represented.
Yeah.
And as somebody who does not have a lot of facial symmetry, or I have some asymmetry, it's nice. It's just nice to see a person, who's
Yeah, she
real
hasn't she doesn't have
looking.
fucking shit in her lips.
Yeah, she's not a duck.
It's just like it it makes perfect sense that American Eagle would partner with her, considering she's very very popular, and it's nice to see a natural bodied girl. I mean, everyone can have a different discussion about sex selling clothing. It has for a long time now, but as someone who's like basically 53, I'll be 53 in September, just excited to see a girl that looks like she fucking eats cheeseburgers and fries, and just being happy about that.
Yeah.
To just hear all this negativity come out, and I'm like, are you guys not seeing the great things? You want to know? Here, I'm going to send you this other one, because I was like, am I crazy? Because right now, while
Yeah.
Sydney Sweeney is modeling that, we see no one's talking about how beautiful it is to see an American brand like Ralph Lauren have fucking representation. Look at who has been the spokesmodel for Yves Saint Laurent for a little while now. I'm sending this over to you. Sorry, guys, and if I'm pissing you off and you don't agree with me, yeah, fuck off. I'm sorry. I'm done. I'm Gen X. I've fucking I've seen some shit, And I'm seeing some really great stuff now.
I
That is
know.
Zoe Kravitz, who is black, as the face of Yves Saint Laurent.
Yeah.
That's a thing. Sorry, Rihanna wasn't available to do American Eagle. She's busy with fucking Fenty. She's busy being a thick, beautiful black woman who like has fucking curves. And she's busy right now. I'm sorry. So just again, all this weird, it's Nazi propaganda. Take several
That's
fucking seats. Go touch some grass.
take several seats.
So some of us are thinking about real shit. Like, I don't know, are we going to survive another fire because our reservoirs are still fucking empty here?
Also, aliens are coming. You know that,
Yeah.
right? Did you read that on the New York Post? New
Oh,
York Times.
really?
Oh, there's a scientist guy from Harvard that is saying there's this massive object that's like gonna about to duck behind the sun for in October, and there's a theory that it could be aliens.
Do you think it's playing hide and seek with us?
Maybe
It's like, oh,
we're
I'm
not,
behind the sun.
it will be, and
Yeah.
that's what they said. Is taking it'll take cover by. I didn't read the whole article, but it's yeah. Anyway, so right, but
Anyway,
bigger things to
guys,
think about.
yeah, I'm just, if you want to go fucking cry about the fact that Sydney Sweeney has good genes and is the partnered with American Eagle. Meanwhile, people seem to forget that she was called ugly by a Hollywood producer not that long ago. They were like, she's not even attractive. Poor Sydney Sweeney. She's just like,
You
okay,
can't
so
win.
make up your mind. I'm either like perfect Aryan race, beautiful, perfect woman, or I'm ugly.
I know.
You
Well,
know
welcome to being a woman.
exactly.
I mean,
You
Pam
can't
Anderson.
fucking win.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
Pam Anderson was criticized for looking like a Barbie doll in the 90s, and now she's criticized because she won't put on a stitch of makeup because she's like, guys,
I'm done.
I'm done. I'm happy with the way I look. And they're like, it's not good enough. Put on some eyeliner.
But that haircut, though.
Yeah.
Ugh. Yeah. Fuck off.
Anyway, enough about that. Let's
Okay.
talk about Brian Koberger and the Idaho 4. Oh, shit.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
Bring it. Bring it. Let's become shock jocks. Let's just like get on here and let it rip.
It's a thing where I'm like, I can be really quiet. Like
Uh-huh.
I can be quiet about shit, or but I'm too old
Yeah.
to just like, I'm just, I don't know. I feel like it's such a disservice when we finally have a girl who's of average height with a healthy body. It's not a stick that also isn't pumped full of silicone and Botox. No disrespect to anyone who does that. I went through my Botox phase. I could probably stand some more, but I can't justify the cost. But it's nice that young women can see someone who just is natural. I'm just tired of being quiet, even if we lose listeners. Sorry, but everyone knows about the Idaho 4 case. One of the things that Shannon and I have talked about is like what we do when we discuss cases is there's plenty of podcasts out there already that do an excellent job of giving you the detail, like the hardcore details, like breaking down every inch of the case. There's True Crime Garage, very, very thorough, very detailed. The prosecutors, very thorough and detailed. Crime Weekly, thorough and detailed. Like they exist. So if you guys want just the detailed breakdown of everything that happened, those podcasts are worth checking out because I'm sure they've covered it. We're more interested in giving you, the synopsis, the timeline, like the kind of the nuts and bolts of the case, and then discussing aspects of the case that resonate with us and maybe will resonate with you as well.
Mhm. Oh, and by the way, if people are watching and you see us looking at our phones, we're looking at our notes.
Yes.
Because I realized last time when you were talking and I'm like looking at my phone, it just looked like I was being
Like you were
rude.
asleep. Yeah, you're
I was
like,
being rude. I'm all oh, I'm bored.
yeah. So the Idaho college murders occurred November 13th of 2022 in Moscow, Idaho. These were 4 University of Idaho students. 2 of them were 20 years old. That would be Ethan Chapin, Xana Kernodle. They were 20. Boyfriend and girlfriend. And then the other 2 victims were Kaylee Gonsalves, 21 in Madison Mogan. Mogan or Mogen? Mogan,
Mogan,
right?
I think.
Mogan,
Mhm.
21, in a house that's sort of known as a party house near the campus. And there were other two roommates that were spared, Dylan Mortensen and Bethany Funk, who were in their own rooms at the time. So what happened is the night before, on November 12th, it was, it's a small town. It's a very safe town. It's known as being a place where you really don't need to lock your doors. You're going to be fine. And with wasn't it 1122 Kings Road, the
Mhm.
Kings Road house? I
Mhm.
may have the house number wrong. It no longer exists now. They tore it down. But it was a place with a lot of action, a lot of people going in and out, in and out. And so that day there was a lot going on, lots of events. There was a formal, there was parties. Everyone in the house was in a fraternity or a sorority. Well, Ethan Chapin was in Sigma Chi, and then the girls were in some different sororities.
They were also pre-gaming at the house at, like, 2 in the afternoon.
So
They
it
had, like, a
started
m
early.
it was like a marathon day. When I saw all the things they were doing, I was like, "Whoa."
Yeah, I know. It was like
Yeah.
that's like 3 different days for me.
I know, 3 months.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, especially now, I'm like, what are you guys doing awake at 9 p.m.? You're crazy. But yeah, so lot of activity going on. And then Ethan ended up like going over to the Kings Road house to hang out with Xana. And everyone sort of ended up retiring to the house. And there's some the viral video of Madison and Kaylee at the food truck, at the town food truck, to get some snacks to take home. And so everyone ended up at the house. Kaylee and Madison were in Madison's room, and Xana and Ethan were in Xana's room, and then Bethany was in her room, and Dylan was in her room. So Dylan was it was in the basement room, if I
Mm.
recall correctly.
No, Bethany was. Dylan was on the first.
The first floor. The
Mhm.
second floor was Ethan and Xana, and the
Yep,
third floor was Madison and Kaylee. And
yep.
Madison and Kaylee were best friends since the time they were little. They grew up together essentially, and were like sisters pretty much. And I read this book, this James Patterson book. I thought there was a co-author. His name stands out because I'm most familiar with it, but he goes into a lot of detail about the individual students and their families, and
Mhm.
it makes it just all the more heartbreaking because we know intellectually these are people with entire histories and lives and relationships, hopes and dreams, all of that. Then hearing some of their backstories, especially Xana, I really just felt so especially drawn to Xana because she didn't have she had a challenging upbringing, and like really just made a place for herself at University of Idaho, and her relationship with Ethan was just it was incredibly sweet. And Ethan and his
Mhm.
family were just
So
amazing
sweet.
people.
Yeah.
But the investigation into the what unfolded revealed that Xana was awake. I think everyone else was asleep. It's worth mentioning that especially Bethany and Dylan. Well, Dylan mainly had been drinking. I think they all had, but Dylan,
They were all drinking.
yeah, and Dylan was pretty wasted.
Yeah, I think so, and Xana got f well, yeah, I was gonna say talking about the food delivery thing, the
Yeah,
timing.
so
Mhm.
she was active on TikTok. She was active on her phone, and then food DoorDash delivered at around 4:12, I think.
I think it was, like, 3:59 or 4 or something. Because
That's right, and
then
she was active on her phone as she
Mhm,
was eating. She was kind of scrolling TikTok in her
mhm,
room.
mhm.
So then, shortly after, Dylan in her room heard noises. So she was in and out of what it seems like kind of like a weird, blurry alcohol fueled kind of like sleep where you're kind of coming in and out of consciousness, and she could hear sounds, and she heard some whimpering, crying, and she heard a voice say, "It's okay. I'm going to help you," or "I'm here to help you."
Mhm.
Something weird
Mhm.
like that, going in and out of sleep. And she got a lot of flack from
Yes.
folks that were like, as they were getting information, deciding that this atrocity, this crime had to have somehow, Dylan had to have been involved, Dylan and Bethany, because why are they still alive, and this doesn't make sense, and all of that. And Dylan apparently really wrestled with what to do with what she was hearing, because in one way, it's not so weird to hear weird sounds coming out of a party house, right? Like loud noises, the dog barking, all of this kind of stuff. It isn't so weird, but she was unsettled enough to eventually open up her door and look out. And at that point, she sees someone pass by, and she can't really make sense out of what she's seeing. He's covered. She's like, "Is he a fireman? Was there a a fire he put out? Was you know?" But they made eye contact, which had to have been terrifying if you've
I
ever
didn't know
seen
that.
Brian Koberger's eyes.
Sanpaku.
Yeah. Can you explain Sanpaku eyes for
Yeah.
anyone who doesn't know?
Yeah, okay. Had you heard of them before?
No.
Okay, my friend told
You're
me
the
about
one who
these.
introduced me to that. And then, of course, I became obsessed with whether or not people have it or not. Right.
So I'm looking at my notes.
Okay.
So my friend introduced me to this concept. She had the book. There's a guy, George Oshawa, who was a Japanese microbiotic philosopher who popularized Sanpaku eyes. He wrote a book called "You Are All Sanpaku," and his theory was that if you have Sanpaku eyes, well, the folklore or the belief around it is that if you have Sanpaku eyes, which means you have three whites exposed in your eyes, like JFK, like AOC, like who
Billie
else?
Eilish,
Billie Eilish, Aubrey Plaza. If you have,
Princess Di.
yeah, Brian Koberger. Um,
Brian Koberger, Charles Manson. But like Brian Koberger, I don't know if he actually has Sanpaku eyes or if he's just chronically like this. Like,
yeah, the bottoms. Yeah, I wondered about him because the bottoms
oh no, because
are
like when I do
exposed.
it,
Yeah,
you can't see my bottoms. You
yeah.
just see like the top, like all the way around, and then it stops. So yeah, I guess I don't have Senpaku
No, you
eyes.
don't.
Yeah.
He does sometimes and not other times, but then other people were saying he does, so I just went with
Okay.
it because,
Yeah. He
I
probably
mean,
does.
he should if he doesn't.
Right.
So it's a warning sign of imbalances within a person's system, physical, physiological, and spiritual. And the belief is that it can indicate a person's fate and a potential tragic events. So there you have it.
I know when you
He,
think about someone like JFK, you think about Princess Diana,
yeah.
and Marilyn Monroe apparently had it also.
Oh, did she?
That's I did a quick search
Hmm.
after you mentioned it this last time around, and
I did
I
not
googled
realize
through it.
they looked in each other's eyes. I didn't know he had eye
she
contact with.
I'm pretty sure she made eye
Yeesh.
contact, and
Yeesh.
like so he turns, he looks at her, she sees enough that she registered. He had bushy eyebrows, he had like the full kind of face thing on.
Mhm.
He was holding something that she
Mm.
couldn't register what it was, but she it in the way that we try to make connections in
Yeah.
our own minds of what we're seeing, she thought it was like maybe something related to fire fighting. Like
Oh,
she had sort
wow.
of she had kind of created this narrative to make sense out of what she was seeing. Also, she was still coming in and out of being intoxicated.
And anxious. If you're anxious, that just changes everything in terms of, right?
And it sounds like she really tended towards anxiety based on Maisie. I had to laugh a little bit in the documentary of Maisie's like, "Shut the fuck up, Dylan," something, because Dylan was so freaking out, and Maisie was trying to hear what was happening. Like, where's my brother? Maisie is Ethan Chapin's sister.
Mhm.
He's a triplet, so it's him, Hunter, and Maisie, the three of them. But anyway, Dylan saw him leave, and she shut her door and was freaking out. And that's when she tried to, everyone was pretty much familiar with this, trying to text and call roommates, text and call Bethany. Bethany doesn't know what's going on either. I'm not sure that Bethany heard anything or not.
She heard a
No, because she's in the basement.
firecracker. She's
What
somebody.
sounded like a firecracker,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So she was on the very bottom, and then Dylan was one floor up, and they ended up one of them going to the other one's room. I think Bethany ran down to Dylan's, right?
yeah.
Yeah, and stayed the
No, no,
night
no. Oh
there.
no. Dylan ran down to Bethany's because she was in the basement.
It felt safer to go down to the
Yeah,
basement.
yeah.
Yeah,
She's like,
she
"Come to
was
my
there.
room." She texted her, "Come, run to my room," and she ran down there.
Okay, and that
Y-
then they stayed the night together and were in and out of sleep, and until they contacted Emily, who's
mhm.
another friend of theirs, and who was with Hunter Johnson, who is the fucking unsung hero in this. He took it upon himself to go to the house the minute he heard that they didn't know what was going on and they needed help. And they had at that point made their way outside.
Yeah.
So he was picturing them panicked, these girls. They're just like, do we leave? They're afraid to call the police because they don't want to sound crazy. They don't want to, it's that still trying to rationalize what's happening because again, who'd have thought that a masked killer would come into your house and kill your roommates? Like it defies any kind of sense of reason. Like that sounds crazy. They
Let's be
didn't want
honest,
to.
though. We would definitely think it was a serial killer.
Of course, that's I would default to that.
But right. But I
Raised
was
on a healthy diet of true crime and horror movies, I might immediately, of course.
yeah.
But yeah, so Austin, I'm sorry, Hunter. Why did I call him Austin? Hunter Johnson met them outside the house. They said, we don't know what's going on. They're not answering their phones. At this point, it was like it was close to noon, which again, some of the social media armchair detectives found that incredibly suspicious that it was so late. It's like, they've been up fucking drinking.
Yeah, they didn't go to bed till like 4:35.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Hunter goes into the house and goes up to the second floor and sees Xana Kernodle dead, laying on the floor with her head kind of pointed in towards partway out, partway in. I think her feet were slightly out of her room,
Mm,
clearly bleeding out, so stabbed to death,
mm.
and that Ethan was on the bed facing the wall, stabbed,
Yeah.
bleeding, like blood everywhere. And Hunter started to go down the stairs. Emily was on her way up, his girlfriend, their friend. And he said, "Hey, just go downstairs. They're unconscious." And so she turns, goes. They all go outside again. He gets on the phone to 911, and to spare the girls, he just says they're unconscious on the phone. And that's why some people are like, why did would he think that they're unconscious?
Oh my god.
All the early report, when you remember this, when the case happened, we're talking about it, like,
Yeah.
yeah,
I know.
like, why would he say they're unconscious when they were stabbed to death? It's like he's trying to
Spare them.
spare them.
Can we talk about the 911 operator?
Sure.
Do you remember this person? God, I love the 911 calls. Like she's like, "What's your emergency?" And she's all, "Is she breathing?" She's all, "Is she breathing?" Just you could hear the disdain in her voice, or
Yeah.
just like, yeah. But once they said that they weren't breathing, she perked up a bit and was a little more helpful. But you could tell she was really annoyed that they were passing the phone around to different people during the call. Yeah,
Yeah, granted, that's got to be frustrating when you're
yeah.
just trying to
Get the
get
info.
information. But yeah, once that happens, so Hunter Johnson also had grabbed a knife out of the kitchen after seeing Xana and Ethan. He did not go up to see about Kaylee and Madison because I think, of course, he's afraid. Moving forward, Hunter couldn't barely talk after. Like by the end, by the time that Kaylee but that Hunter's that Ethan Chapin's family, made the drive. They immediately started driving. Alerts were going out from University of Idaho to the students to shelter in place, to like lock their doors, all this kind of thing. And the school also opened up rooms at the local Best Western for the students living at the Kings Road house, and then other ones as well, to stay at the hotel, and for the families as well.
Mhm.
And one thing that stood out to me in the book was how Stacy Chapin, Ethan's mother, just with this family. I looked into a little more about how they're coping
Mhm.
and what their, I guess, attitude was about the plea agreement. That, of course, is a
Mhm.
source of conflict for folks following the case, and of course for the Gonzalez family and all that.
Mhm.
But Stacy Chapin, just despite her loss, despite losing one of her beloved children, took it upon herself to make sure that everyone else was okay, made sure they had
Mhm.
enough to eat, that they had enough blankets, that they were being comforted. This woman who lost her child was doing this. I just was like, man, if I could have had, I just, man,
Mhm.
that family, that's a family to be proud of. That's a family that just, you just would want for yourself, for others. Like,
Yeah.
just, they're good people, man. You can tell she and her husband, like, they raised good kids. And that was the other heartbreaking thing, is when they dropped their kids off, all three of them went to University of Idaho because they're all triplets, all the same age. She was driving home with her husband, and they were like, hey, we did it. Like, we raised good kids, like, we did it.
Yeah.
Like, they were so happy, so proud of their children
Yeah.
are so close to each other,
Oof.
doing well in life, like all of that. Ethan was just a good dude, and he was so good to Xana, like such a good balance for her and her life. And that this that they were robbed of this in the most brutal way possible. And despite that, this mom is just making sure that everyone has a mother that night.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's what Hunter said. Hunter said
Yeah.
that he was surprised they were taking care of them that night. And
And she even said, she goes, well, what else
yeah.
was that? I mean, like it sort of, for her, it only made sense that she did this. Like of course I did that. Of course I did. She's a mother. It like it every kind of sense of the word. She was a mother when people needed a mom.
Maisie was also, did you remember the part how Ethan went to a function with Maisie that night as like, and as her like date or something, and then
Yeah.
they went to a party afterward, and he was texting her but she was asleep, and he was like, come out, come with us, come hang out with us. She missed all the texts, and then he signed off with I love you.
Uh
And she said, and when she said it, she's like, and we don't say that to each other. I
yes.
know. I know.
Uh
I know.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, I was
Oof.
reading again. The book is absolutely worth reading. You really get to know. We lose sight with these cases when they happen. We
Mhm.
lose sight of the humanity of the people involved,
Yeah.
because they become, we're a culture that really looks at everything as entertainment, unfortunately,
Ugh.
and as a story.
Yeah.
And we lose sight of the fact that these were people, and there still are people living, Dylan and Bethany and Maisie and these guys, and Hunter Johnson and Hunter Chapin. There's two Hunters. Hunter Chapin is
Mhm.
one of the triplets, and then there's Hunter Johnson. I would get their names mixed up sometimes, but yeah, I'm like reading the book, and I was like, "Ugh."
Yeah.
So we know that, without getting too far into the minutia of the case, Sheath was found. Brian Koberger was the suspect. He was apprehended. He's a PhD student in criminology at Washington State, Pennsylvania native, and was from the get, when information came out about him, he was very, very, very odd fellow, very strange. It's funny because in the book, if we were doing a drinking game and reading the James Patterson book I read, and you said take a shot, Dana, every time James Patterson describes Brian Koberger's bulging eyes, I would be. in the hospital getting my stomach pumped. It was like bulging eyes, bulging eyes, bulging eyes. I'm like, James, bro, you're a writer. Number one, his eyes don't actually bulge, they're just wide open.
Uh-huh.
But also menacing eyes,
Uh-huh.
staring eyes,
Sanpaku eyes.
Sanpaku eyes, frightening eyes, large eyes. I don't know, but it was like bulging eyes, bulging. I'm like, he's not a frog. Like that just makes it sound like he's like got Marty Feldman eyes. You know, he's all. I'm like he's just his eyes are menacing. Bulging just sort of like makes it sound like you're like choking him, and he's like.
Yeah.
But so that was just minor detail there. But we know he pled guilty, and he is spending the rest of his life behind bars. But the things that stood out to me, Shannon, because I remember when this broke,
Yeah.
and one of the things you and I described was that there is like this Wes Craven slasher movie element to it. There is a component that stands out. You have good looking college students, sorority girls, one fraternity brother. You have this safe, small, idyllic town.
Yeah.
You have very, very normal, well adjusted, popular kids. And this really graphic, horrible, violent crime happens seemingly out of nowhere. And so it captured the imagination, I think, of the people, because when folks are like, what is it, what's the phenomenon around this case, why do people care so much? It's like, well, one, we're a generation raised on movies with this
Mhm.
as a plot point.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's also something that I think resonates when bad things happen to people like that.
Mhm.
How
Mhm.
safe am I?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
This wasn't
Right.
supposed to happen. They weren't in
Oakland.
in Oakland. Exactly. They weren't in New York. They weren't hitchhiking. They weren't doing drugs late at night in a questionable part of town, like a warehouse rave situation. They were in a place where you were supposed to be able to just safely wander from house to house, doors unlocked,
Yeah.
parents feeling good about their kids going to college in a safe small town. Nothing
Yeah.
happened there.
Yeah.
I think that's part of it as well.
Yeah.
And with that, there is also this aspect where I feel like something like this breaks in a period of time we're in, where we're so oversaturated, we talk about it all the time, like media oversaturation, is we kind of take possession of these very true events, and we
Mhm.
co-opt them, and we make stories out of them to amuse ourselves, like
Mhm.
the folks that decided that they should dox Hunter Johnson because they were sure that he was up to something, because he didn't have the type of reaction they felt was normal
Yeah, our poor
at
grub truck guy too. Yeah.
the guy that like, as it turned out, was kind of friendly with the girls.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that they're trying to find him. They're convinced that he must be at fault. And then of course Dylan and Bethany
Oh
living in the
god.
house.
They're still getting it. People are still critiquing them and yeah, judging their choices and
Yeah. It reminds me of, those people that are like, well, here's what I would have done in that situation if my friends were being murdered. I wouldn't have done that. I would have done X, Y, and Z. It's like the people watching the UFC. Well, see what he did wrong.
yeah, yeah,
What
yeah.
yeah, what he did wrong there is this. What I would have done, the dude fucking eating chicken wings, can't walk to the fridge without being out of breath. What I
Yeah.
would have done is this. Yeah. Oh,
Uh-huh.
please tell me. Yeah, you've got it figured out.
It's all very Roman Colosseum. I mean, it's all
Yes.
very like right, like watching a public hanging. There's that element of like, excitement around getting the information. Like I'm thinking now just not even about the general public, but about like the amateur journalists on social media who would go out to the sites and who would, you know, point fingers at different people, and all for clicks and likes and exposure for them. Maybe some genuine curiosity, maybe some, whatever reporters have when they're kind of going after the story, that sort of like
Right.
maybe there's some of that in there, but it does it seemed like opportunistic for a lot of these people
Very.
who were right, yeah, making this a way to have a platform and ruining people's lives in the process. Hunter and what, Emily? Is it Emily?
Emily, his
Yeah,
girlfriend.
Emily and Hunter, like their whole relationship with social media sounds like it's changed. And right, and they're very private. Their
Yeah.
lives were totally derailed for a while. Yeah, I don't think people really think about the human cost
No.
of that kind of reporting.
No,
Mhm.
it reminds me, we always go back to this. I mean, I've brought this up a few times with some of our episodes, but it brings to mind Susan Sontag's both her books on photography and regarding the pain of others, and
Mhm.
the way that we view images
Mhm.
and information, and how the question is, does it create compassion and empathy in us, or is it, you've used this expression before, where it's compassion fatigue? You get so burnt out on seeing tragedy after tragedy that it just stops affecting you.
Oh yeah, this goes into our amygdala conversation about like how the news and that kind of reporting is designed to poke your amygdala to make you angry or scared.
Right,
And then
so
it
it's
is exhausting. Yeah.
right, so it's like that is because that's where we get our clicks. We're either going to piss you off,
Mhm.
which is why I sometimes get just frustrated and angry just seeing other people frustrated and angry online,
Yeah.
or scare you, which is what happens whenever anyone says, we're due for another earthquake. And I'm like,
Yeah.
stop.
Or
Yeah,
aliens are coming. I saw that one.
aliens are coming. Yeah, it's like, it's so we're either frightened or we're enraged. And it's interesting because that is essentially, when you look at like a sociopath or a psychopath, they
Mhm.
can really only ever feel either frightened for their own safety or angry. There is no compassion, there is no empathy, there's no love, and it's almost like it's stirring that in us. And so we do things like observe someone else's tragedy as entertainment, amusement, or how can I benefit from this, how can I get something out of this.
Yeah.
And also it brings that out in the viewer, and then they do things like, write mean comments on posts or threaten people or harass poor Kaylee Gonzalez's mother.
Oh, I
you know
know. I heard about that. Ugh.
yeah, they won't let it. It's funny to them, it's amusing, and usually the reason for, like, when someone is just mean, this goes back to us, on and on, because it's so relevant to everything now with social media. When I'll look at the comments, like someone is putting on like a pretty dress or has done her hair, and there's a comment, "You're ugly."
Ugh. It's a
And what's
psycho.
that for, right? It's to see how she reacts.
It's also like, yeah, it's funny because we talked about the parallel process, kind of like there's a psychopathic event, and then you have all the psychopaths coming out of the woodwork. Like their inner psychopath shows up because there's no we have anonymity, right? We don't have to be responsible for what we say. It doesn't have
Right.
any consequences socially to say what we want to. And right, I think some people there is a sadistic glee in harming each someone with your words online, right? You
Right.
feel powerful. You feel, I don't know. I feel like in some ways people feel divorced from themselves, like their usual social selves. They're kind of like in that context. That context creates, it pulls for bad behavior because there aren't really that many contingencies on your behavior, right? Like, what's the punishment for that? The reward is people laugh, right? You get
Right.
lots of reinforcement for being a dick online, but what are the consequences especially if you have an anonymous account? So yeah, it's like, oof, it is psychopathic the way people behave. Mhm.
Yeah, it's I think about how, when a killer,
Mm.
like a Ted Bundy, is like, torturing a woman, and seeing her reaction, it is to gauge her reaction. A lot of times when people torture and they
Yeah.
talk about it with, early signs of a serial killer is like torture of animals, and it's to see the reaction, to see pain and fear. And I think about that, like when they tell you, like, don't feed the trolls, don't give them what they want, which is to see you hurting, to see you angry, to see you
Yeah.
upset, and this kind of arousal that they get from it.
Mhm.
And of course, you and I were talking about, like, that there are these online accounts that are, praising Brian Koberger, like thinking that he is the bee's knees for doing this. They deserved it. These girls deserved it.
Mm.
All hail the king, Brian Koberger. And then of course you got some of these women that think he's hot and they want to be with him.
Ugh.
And so this reaction coming out, and it's frightening to see. Although I was wondering, I was going to ask you, we see these reactions,
Mhm.
these guys that are holding him up as somehow like he's a martyr now, right, for the
Yeah.
cause. This goes to the question of what makes someone a Brian Koberger, what made Brian Koberger the way that he is, and is going into, let's say, a Reddit thread or a forum and worshiping him.
Mhm.
Can that make a killer or not?
Mm.
Is it that easy to kill someone if you're not prone to that? Do you see?
Oh,
Do you
I
know what I mean?
see. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Like, is there a
Ugh.
legitimate threat that other people will become like him, or would they already have to have those components in place to do that?
That's a good question.
Because I'd like to think it's not that easy, right?
Yeah, I
Like,
think there's a lot of nerd rage out there.
well, that, yeah,
And I think that's the, like, incel archetype thing, that
right,
people sometimes talk about with him. I do think that social media is a radicalizing component that's very like, if it didn't exist, then there are people who wouldn't be radicalized potentially, right? Like,
sure.
should we get into the like, a little bit about his psychology and talk a little bit about the sort of what leads a person to do this and then, like, prevention stuff?
Sure. Yeah, let's
Okay.
do that.
So so we talked about this a lot because it's interesting, right? Like, we don't it's a lot of speculation
Yeah,
in true crime, and we do speculate a lot, which is fine, right? Like, I think it's about trying to understand and trying to see if there's a way that we could intervene earlier and, have less of this. Because I mean, I have clients who are I have a lot of clients my age and some older, and I don't have a lot of people in their 20s and early 30s. But the people I have who are in their 20s are afraid to go to movie theaters because they grew up during a time where people got shot up in movie theaters, and people got shot up in schools and people got so that is their we didn't grow up with that. There are a lot of more mass killings these days than it seems like there were in the past. And a lot of them are committed by young men. So Brian Koberger, arguably, like, we don't know if he set out to do a mass killing. He might have just wanted to target one person. But I do wonder about the influence of because we talk about political radicalization, you talk about like maybe religious radicalization that happens in these communities, and I think people can be radicalized to adopt a mindset of entitlement and of especially people who are vulnerable like Brian Koberger, and I'll say more about that, but you know, he's kind of like a socially awkward person, a socially isolated person, can't make it work with his peers in terms I think he had some friends, but I don't think he had any like super close long-term relationships. He's diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, developmental coordination disorder, which I have no idea what that is. But you can imagine, like, if you think about mirroring, right? Like, we
right.
go through the world and we see ourselves through other people's eyes. So, if people look at you with contempt and disdain and confusion and disgust or they're creeped out by you. You know that, right? You get that. And you start to form this image of yourself, right? Like he was a he was a chubby, overweight kid.
Pretty significantly. Apparently, he. If the book is accurate with this, he was a good like 100 pounds overweight, which is
Yeah.
significant.
Yes,
Which
and
had to have been hard.
totally. So you have this person who is terribly isolated, feels like a weirdo probably, and goes online and meets a bunch of other people who so you think about like holding the problem as me, like I'm the problem. I have shame about who I am. I know that people are creeped out by me. I can tell by how they respond to me. I've had clients come into my practice saying this stuff to me, like, and it's sad, because nobody wants to feel that way. So they go to these communities online, like the sort of incel communities or whatever communities he was part of. And it's a bunch of angry, socially isolated, f- feeling, the that black pill ideology of like, you know, giving up, like nature is what it is, and I'm on the losing end of this stick because of the equation because I live in this culture. And so they flip it from there's something wrong with me to the problem is outside of me.
Right.
It's women. And anger feels good, right? You're no longer in that like I'm a piece of crap place. You're like, "Oh no, actually, I'm entitled to sex. I'm entitled to relationships. I'm entitled to these things and women are the problem." And then there's this like glorification. There's like they even do like body count stuff where they're like, "Oh yeah, Elliot Rodger had this many and I want to go out and kill." And they share their fantasies about going out and killing a bunch of women. And it's camaraderie, like, it reinforces things, it changes your perspective, so you start to see the world in a different way, and suddenly it's a relief, right? To sort of like, "That's the problem's not me, it's the world." And so I think without that, I mean, if there was no landing place with, like, a toxic, distorted ideology that was being promoted by a bunch of other people who share your experience emotionally, and I think that we wouldn't have such a big problem, which is why I think the intervention has to be around some of the intervention for kids who are maybe vulnerable to this kind of thing has to really center around human connection and getting real human connection and having real relationships in the real world versus going online to these communities to get that. But that's hard for parents. I mean, I can't, you know?
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. So with Brian Koberger, I mean, if you want to look at there being warning signs,
Mhm.
the warning signs with him look like a lot of other warning signs, right? Like
Totally.
when he was little, he was weird. He had friends, but he was doing things like breaking into houses, and he
Yeah.
was doing a lot of that kind of like antisocial personality disorder early stuff, like breaking into homes, burgling homes at a young age,
Which is a huge deal.
which is, yeah, it's huge. And then later on, he his dad, you see his parents kind of, his parents are still kind of mysterious. I wonder if we'll ever learn anything about them, because I mean his childhood stuff, the only information I could find was in the book.
Mhm.
And the dad took him to a boxing gym saying like, hey, my son needs to, he needs to learn some self-defense. He gets bullied, but also, he wants to lose some weight and get in shape and stuff. And Brian, was going every day, and
Yeah.
he committed to it, working hard. He was losing weight. He eventually got really thin, but he was committed to that. He would show up and do his thing. And I guess some of the people at the gym were like, oh, hey, Brian, like they were supportive of him.
Mhm.
And then he had a bad influence friend that he started doing heroin with. So he had a heroin problem. And then he was stealing to kind of feed his habit.
Do you remember how old he was when he was, doing the heroin and stealing to feed the habit? I don't remember.
Teenager.
Okay.
He was a teen.
That's, like, big stuff. That's, like, part of the diagnostic criteria for,
He was shooting it up too.
oh,
Like,
that's
I didn't
intense.
know that's wild when you're shooting. I
Wow.
don't know if he started out shooting it, but it points to this very nihilistic bent that I
Yeah,
mean, you're gonna see. I don't think there's a single serial killer that doesn't have that kind of that nihilistic bent to them, where that it's sort of like they, they don't value life clearly, but that also means they don't really value their own.
right.
Yeah, I just assumed he was like snorting it or smoking it or something.
Mm.
I don't know if you
Mm.
could smoke heroin. Can you smoke heroin?
God, yeah, you can.
You can't. Okay. Yeah, I just assumed that was a thing, but he wore long sleeves to hide his track marks.
So, like, they had signs, right? Big signs, because they knew he had a heroin addiction. They put him in rehab. He did well. He got off heroin.
He clearly did well
Yeah.
enough to be in a PhD program at the end, when all is said and done. But but that's the thing where it's like maybe, just maybe, the parents are, they're wringing their hands about their child who is, very, very odd. But
Mhm.
like, what came first, right? Was he odd because he was bullied? Or was he bullied because he was odd? Was he bullied because he was an overweight kid? Did he turn to heroin and a bad influence friend because of the fact that he had a tough time, tough go of it as like a little kid? And then suddenly, okay, he's still a little odd, but now he's in a master's program. Now he got a letter of recommendation to a really solid PhD program from this like world renowned professor and author, the one that wrote the book on
Oh,
BTK.
Ramsland?
Ramsland,
Yeah.
yeah. She writes him a shining, glowing letter of recommendation to this PhD program. And now, as his parents, I'd be like, oh, phew, wow. So glad he's doing well now.
Yeah, you'd
Shit.
know. You'd know. You'd know
I
your
would
kid
hope
was
you would,
yeah, I mean,
but
your kid's suffering because I mean, honestly, the first thing I learned when I was working with kids as a therapist in my internship, I had this kid we had kids who had a really hard time, and the first thing my supervisor said was she's like, "Let's get this kid some friends." And I think they must have known. He's not going on dates. He's odd. He's probably having anger with them. He said that in one of his little things he wrote online when he was like a teen, that he had no remorse with his family and he was mean to them. So they must have seen his angry outbursts at some point in the family. And so, like,
yeah,
behavioral issues were probably obvious, but not enough. They were probably relieved to see that he was functioning in one sphere of his life, like school, but
right.
he was not functioning well in the others. Anything but school, it seems like. But yeah, I mean, of course, you cling to anything, right? You're like, okay, thank God. Yeah.
Because I don't think that your next thought is, what if he, slaughters 4 university students with a fucking K-bar knife?
And that's the thing. Like that's the thing we're talking about is like the pathway to getting there. It's I guess the question is like, well, even born psychopaths don't end up doing this kind of stuff all the time.
Right.
And that's a huge but he had deficits in his social functioning and rather than teach him how to function better socially or whether they be motivated to learn how to function better socially, he he went on these communities and, made the
Right.
problem someone else. But I think yeah, early intervention not just for like because you think your kid's going to be a psychopath, but because if your kid is like not functioning well socially, it's really important to intervene there. It's really
Yeah.
right?
No, no, and that's the thing, I understand, and with the best of intentions, I'm sure his dad like walked him into that boxing gym and but like in addition to helping him feel better about himself as far as like his physical body and to be able to protect himself from bullies, he needed therapy bad. Like he needed counseling. He needed to be able to open up to somebody that has no skin in the game, right? His isn't a parent, isn't a friend, isn't a peer or even a teacher, but someone who is there to talk to him about confidentially about whatever it is he wants to talk about.
Yeah, there's a therapist I know who is on the autism spectrum, and he did a training once in one of my internships, and he came in and I was struck by something he said. He's like, the best thing you can do for a kid who has autism or is on the autism spectrum is introduce them to an adult on the autism spectrum. And I wonder if maybe he wasn't diagnosed for a long time.
I was about to ask,
Yeah.
did you find any information about when he was diagnosed with it? Because it's very possible that they never even, because he was,
Yeah.
it's
That
sometimes
generation.
it's that well, he was 28.
Mm. Hmm.
I mean, now he's 28, I believe.
Mm.
I'm not sure. He's in his 20s.
Okay.
He's in his 20s.
Hmm.
But it could be that they didn't know that he was. They never saw anything that indicated to them that he might need it. But a therapist might be able to figure it out, and he clearly needed a therapist, being bullied and having a tough go of it, to the point that his father wanted him to learn self-defense, you know.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Ugh.
it's a tough one, because also I saw someone post about how, the red flags were there in how he was treating the women in the program that he was a teaching assistant for at Washington State, that he was really dismissive, to the point where
Mm.
it disturbed the female students enough that they were reporting him for
Yeah.
being incredibly, just clearly misogynistic towards them. And this one woman is like, well, that's a red flag right there. And I'm like, that he's going to be a killer?
Yeah.
I mean,
No.
he's a pig. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's an asshole.
Yeah.
But if there's plenty of misogynistic assholes I've encountered that I'm sure didn't go on to murder people.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I don't know that that would be the red flag.
I
You
see
know
what
what I mean?
yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, like, because people are kinda going back and reviewing and right. It's interesting. I think about some people I've met in my life, who I've spent time with them and immediately been like, "Holy shit." Like, the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. Like, this person is a psychopath, you know? And that's I don't know that we can always tell. I don't
No,
know that we can always tell that what someone's gonna do. But it's interesting because as soon as the cops got his car, they got the car and they went through the list of people who had the car, his car, and then they found him based on that. And they looked at him, they looked at his profile, and they kind of thought, this is our guy. And I because I think he presents as that. Like, right? Because some people were skeeved out by him
sure.
and found him generally to be really creepy, argumentative. He's not just a sad, isolated guy. He
He's
had
not a Jeffrey Dahmer.
yeah, he had
Yeah,
anger, he had all the stuff, the haughty attitude, the power trips he had with his students, writing those like paragraphs long critiques of their work, and he could keep it together for school, but he couldn't keep it together as a teacher, in a
because it
position.
required human interaction.
Exactly. And
Right.
yeah, it's like your slip is showing, buddy. But
Yeah.
yeah, but right, and there are a lot of people going back and being like, "Oh, I should." But I think he could easily have gone under the radar, and he did for a long time in a lot of contexts. So that's a good point.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, if you're going to make that a red flag, it's a red flag about him being a douche, but
Yeah,
I don't necessarily think that that was the clue
yeah,
that
right.
he was going to kill people. And like, save for, I mean, the only solution, it seems,
Hmm.
to hoping to prevent future murderers like
Hmm.
this, it's honestly advice for anyone who is going through a hard time, which is, getting help for your kid, right? Getting help for your kid that is struggling, if that's the thing that's going to lead them to do this. But then we're also assuming that his this murderous rampage he went on was because he never had female attention from the types of girls that he wanted. We don't know that. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Imagine he ends up with a girlfriend. Is that going to stop him?
It might have. I mean,
You think so?
I really think that these kinds of I think the social isolation piece and the lack of intimate relationships, and, like, I don't think like, I think about BTK, who was harboring all these sexual fantasies, and it just feels different. I don't know for sure, but it feels different to me. It feels like an Elliot Rodger versus a BTK. Like I don't or like the original Night
Richard
Stalker.
Ramirez.
Yeah, or the original Night Stalker,
Oh, gotcha.
the what's his name?
The Golden State
Yeah,
Killer.
the Golden State Killer. So, like, where they're fitting in and they've got a family and they're like whatever, but they've got these fantasies that they wanna act out, and they're split in that way. They can go out and do it. His more feels like,
Pointed, like
pointed,
just one direction,
and
like a narrower focus.
well, yeah, and also about nerd rage, basically, like,
Right.
also about, like, entitlement, grandiosity, power, and, like, he's an archetype and they're an archetype, the girls, and everybody in that house who was, Kaylee was stabbed 34 times, and Xana was stabbed 50 times. All the girls had facial wounds and lacerations, and Ethan didn't.
No, he was in the way. Like,
Right.
I think that the one thing we can say, because we don't know if and it still will, we may never know if Koberger went in there with the aim of killing one specific person or all of them. And my theory is that he went in there to kill girls, and Ethan happened to be there.
Yeah, and destroy their faces,
Just
their
yeah,
beautiful
just
faces.
yes,
Like,
yes.
that to me was like,
Symbolically,
oof.
yeah, it was a symbolic, and it did feel very sexual with the stabbing.
Oh, yeah. I will die on that hill. People are arguing that it's not
Oh
sexual,
no.
but
My question, honestly, this is so gross, and forgive me, viewers and listeners, for saying this. I can't help but wonder, I
I'm thinking the same thing, I think.
if he ejaculated when
Oh,
he went.
yes.
Yeah, if he derived that kind of sexual gratification from doing that. But it's so interesting what you say, and again, that I think that's what speaks to this, almost the kind of cinematic narrative of this, which is he was an archetype
Mhm.
murdering archetypes,
Yeah.
like this symbol. I mean, look at them, they beautiful girls and young and sorority, like,
Chad and the Stacys.
exactly. You have Ethan the Chad, he's this big, strong, strapping, athletic, handsome dude. He's got his girlfriend, probably never ever struggled in the dating department. And then you've got Brian, who's an outsider, who was probably picked on by people resembling this kind of like popular, it's a popular house, popular girls.
Yeah. Girls were bullying him. They were the ones that mostly bullied him in elementary school, I think. That's
That
what someone said. Yeah.
then it makes so much sense. But yeah, it is a thing with, at the point that he was on his way to college, it was too late. I
Yeah.
think. I think that any kind of possibility of intervention. I mean, who knows? But at that point, it was too late.
At that point, what you do, I think, because it has to do with, like, the architecture of the brain, like, developmentally, it's just better when you intervene early. If you The earlier you can get in there before they're fully formed in terms of their brain development and their life, their habits and whatever, you can really do a lot more. But when you get in there with someone like him where the die is kind of cast, you're basically kind of like working with them around changing behaviors because they don't work for them. Like, don't kill people because you'll end up in prison. Like, that kind of
Right.
work versus like work that could really shape them in a different direction. Which is why I think social isolation and bullying and that kind of thing is like, if you can't get your kid to go to therapy as a parent, then you should go to therapy and you should learn strategies to work with your kid around those issues, because it's I mean, it stays with people forever, right? It's like when you're forming your sense of self, there are people, you were
Yeah.
bullied. I mean,
Mhm.
it's just awful.
I still have nightmares
Yeah.
about stuff, and sometimes, like, I will have fantasies of going back in time and, like, being myself with my brain now in my, like, 12-year-old body and just standing up for myself. It doesn't fucking go away, and I don't think I probably got it as bad as Brian well, who knows? He also was operating with, a on the spectrum, and who knows what else, obsessive compulsive disorder, all these things that, like, his
Yeah.
brain was probably never quieted, and then
Oh,
add to that this
visual
kind of torment.
snow.
What's the just for everybody, just describe what visual snow is.
So visual snow would drive me crazy. It's like tinnitus. I know people say tinnitus, but I refuse.
I say
Tinnitus.
tinnitus too.
Yes. So, I'm like, "Okay, good." I also say turmeric and February.
I do
Um
too, because that's how it's spelled.
Yes, Tim makes fun of me. So, right, so but he had visual snow, which is freaking infuriating, and he wrote on this forum about it, and it's you see snow in your vision all the time.
Like
So
TV static almost?
yeah, like
Like,
TV static.
okay.
Like, bzz, and I don't know if it comes and I mean, I know it comes and goes. I know people can have it sometimes and not other times, but it was maddening for him. And some people just accept it and can deal with it, but he really was disturbed by this. So you have that irritant going constantly, right? You already have his high strung, rigid OCD kinds of behaviors, obsessive thinking. He was tormented, it seems like, just absolutely tormented from the inside and the outside, and did not learn that there was something that he could be doing that could make his life better, I think. I don't think
Right.
he ever, and maybe he's a psychopath, maybe he's a born psychopath and he just, like, had that too going for him.
I wonder, like you had pointed out, and stuff, and which a lot of you, like, listeners, viewers, may already know this, but not all psycho killers are murderers. Like, not all sociopaths are killers, not all psychopaths are killers. And we've talked about this before. You find a lot of psychopaths a lot of psychopaths are CEOs, surgeons, pilots. It's essentially just an absence, that you don't and a lot of them are parents that don't go on and murder their kids or wives or abuse them. Like, so it could be that, even being a born psychopath, had there been some sort of early intervention, not again because his parents didn't have a crystal ball and could anticipate what would happen, but just some sort of early intervention for the shit he was dealing with at an
Yeah,
early age,
yeah,
perhaps maybe it wouldn't have got him away from being a psychopath, but it could have helped him find a coping mechanism that would allow him to at least have some kind of a relief of whatever it was that was, like, constantly churning on in his head, giving him, tools to manage, and eventually to have a friend group, maybe
yeah.
be able to date, find a way in the world.
To do, like, more pro-social kinds of behaviors,
Sure.
and, like, it's funny, as you're talking, I'm like, we all have this. Like, we all have a mind that is insane, that produces thoughts all the time that we have no control of, right? And memories, and fear is, like, our default mode, I think, as humans, and that's evolutionary. And to live in a different way requires a lot of skill and effort and practice. And he's dealing with what we all are dealing with on a different, maybe a different
Right.
level, with different, you know, different amygdala. Maybe they have feelings, psychopaths, but they just don't have the same degree of feelings. They can feel lonely, they can feel angry, and there might be some rigidity, but yeah, it's exactly what you're saying. It's like, how do we so if you can take a kid and you can connect them with what's important to them, like I mentioned before, my consultant had once worked with a client who was a sociopath, but they knew that, and they knew they wanted a normal life, quote unquote normal life. They wanted a family, they wanted kids, and what they were doing in their life was not getting that for them. And they had to learn the skill of empathy and they had to practice empathy, and they had to learn what that was. And it's a cognitive emotional process, but they can have cognitive empathy, and they
Right,
had to
an
learn.
awareness of what empathy is. Even if that
Yeah.
doesn't come naturally to them, they can recognize that. It
Yes.
reminds me a little bit of Dexter,
Yes,
if you've
exactly.
ever gotten into Dexter.
His dad could have shaped him not to be a killer, I think. I would
But then we
submit.
wouldn't have had an amazing
Exactly.
fucking series, okay?
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. No. Yeah.
But, like, you see him being like, "Ooh, what does a person do in a situation like this?" And then he models the behavior.
Mhm.
Yeah, and this isn't to say that who knows, right? We'll never know. If Brian if there had been early intervention,
Mhm.
again, this isn't a thing where parents need to go like, if I don't, like, I need to do something so that I don't eventually have a serial killer child or whatever. But it's just, okay, there's these clearly these issues, which there were clear issues, and they
Absolutely.
were helping him.
Yeah.
But he needed fucking counseling. He needed a therapist. He needed a therapist who could maybe have sussed out some things. Oh, you know
Yeah.
what? I think your kid should be screened for autism,
Yeah.
to see if he's on the spectrum, and then go from there. Again, I don't want to feel like I'm not saying that we're know-it-alls and that this would have fixed him or that his
Right.
parents didn't care. I think they cared. I mean, it seems
Yes.
that they did, because they also, his sisters seem to be functioning just fine. But
Mhm.
it's when we talk about how, and the compelling thing about cases like this is like understanding it, but also how what are things we could do if there was a way to prevent something like this. And I think about along these lines, I don't know if you've ever seen the TED talk from Sue Klebold, who was Dylan Klebold's mom,
Mhm.
one of the Columbine
Mhm.
kids. And
Mm-mm.
I have an enormous amount of compassion for this woman, man. Like, I think about this with Brian Koberger's parents too, which is that the victims, holy fucking shit. I think it
Ugh,
goes without saying. But imagine you're the parent of the person who destroyed lives.
horrible. I
And
mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
like I think when I there's that picture of Brian Koberger's mom sobbing at his sentencing. And I'm like, I don't know why she's crying. I mean, I do, right?
Mhm,
But
mhm.
like, she lost her son. She lost her son
Absolutely.
probably a long time ago. But in that moment, like, what do you do? I raised a murderer. And
Yeah.
Sue Klebold, she's doing her TED talk, and I think it's a TED talk that every parent should see,
Mhm.
because the bottom line is that she missed the signs, and she's absolutely, aware of that. I
And
missed the signs.
and no one taught them to her. That's the thing. Is like,
Yeah.
if you don't know what they are, then how can you get them? How can you
Yeah.
find them? Does she say that does she know that too? I mean, does she forgive herself? I hope.
I think it's a journey for her. I
Mhm.
think
Mhm.
that, because obviously the Columbine killers' parents, of course, were attacked. And I get it. I get it.
Mhm.
I absolutely understand how something like that happens, for sure. But it's a thing where, beyond the fact that I'm sure she wishes she could have done things differently to prevent that fucking tragedy from happening.
Yeah.
I think the bigger thing is, I think probably she wishes that she could have done what she needed to do to help her kid, not like whatever was
Mhm.
happening that brought that on,
Yeah.
if there was a way. But although I want to say, I'd have to go back and refresh my memory, but I want to say well, first of all, Dylan Klebold was usually in a something like that. There's a leader and there's a follower, and Dylan was a follower. Eric Harris was the leader of that. I don't want to get on
Mhm.
that topic, but that's just an example of like when you're a parent of a fucking murderer,
And
you know.
you can also do everything you possibly can, and it can not change things.
Right.
But
Yeah,
yeah, it's hor
there's no way to know. We'll never know
Mhm.
if actually, or that this kind of early intervention would have prevented this from happening. in Idaho, or prevented Brian from doing, and it, if not the crime in Idaho, something else.
Yeah.
But it's something.
Yeah.
It's something.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the what a fucking. I wish, but for nothing but the best for the victims' families
Yeah. They find
and their
peace.
friends.
Mhm.
And it's a thing. It's I you and I have both talked quite a bit about like the plea deal and how the Gonsalveses are very unhappy with that. They did not want it to be a plea deal. They're very very angry. I get it. It's I justifiable anger.
Yeah.
And I also understand how the Chapins accept it.
Yeah.
You know, the dad was like, look, he is no, he can't hurt anybody ever again. You know,
Yeah.
and we're satisfied with that. He can't hurt anyone ever again. And now that it's done, maybe the students and everyone can just go on with their lives, which is, you know, what the Chapins want. And then for the Gonsalves is for the father, especially the way, you know, his with his reaction, he's furious.
Yeah.
But also, you know, his daughter's face was bashed in.
Yeah. I
Like his
mean,
daughter, like I don't know how you come back from that. And that is some of the discussion that you and I have had around true crime, like just the kind of phenomenon of true crime and people's interest in it,
mhm.
that, you know, it feels exploitative. Sure, I think sometimes it is, like the way that TMZ treated this is there's such, I don't have a high opinion of fucking TMZ, but you know, just getting into like the sensational aspects, I suppose.
Yeah.
But I'm really taken with how victims' families find their way through a tragedy and how they move forward.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a lot to learn in watching them navigate their journey. Just, I mean, watching, I feel bad saying that, they want privacy, but just when they speak, when they share their experience, when they share their lives, and just seeing them handle it with dignity and grace, I think there's a lot to learn and a lot to be inspired by being able to move forward
Yeah.
when it feels like you've lost absolutely everything.
Yeah. I mean, all of us will lose everything and everyone we love at some point too. And
Right.
I feel like that's part of it too, is that it's just a very human experience to lose people and things that we love. And yeah, and seeing them sort of survive and thrive, like when they do positive things as a result, people do positive things as a result of a major tragedy. There's something so, like, I don't know, reparative about that or something. There's it's like hopeful and
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
look at Katie Meyer's Law. We
Mhm.
did that episode on Katie Meyer. You know,
Mhm.
hopefully we will never have another situation where a student athlete or a student is faced with something terrifying and feels like they have no one to turn to,
Yeah.
or there's nothing for them.
Mhm.
We've got, you know, the Madison Holleran Foundation that
Mhm.
came after Madison Holleran's death.
And Ethan's
That
smile
yes,
is so sweet. Oh my god.
yeah.
Mhm.
So, dude, how do you even end an episode like
I
this?
know.
It's so hard, guys.
We're all ding ding
Please,
ding ding
yeah,
ding. Whoop.
yeah.
I know, it's like, on what note?
Well, we wanted to, you know, it's a thing where we're always interested in hearing what you guys think, how you guys respond to tragedies such as this, what your attitudes are about things like the ways in which we report on true crime, the ways in which we consume stuff. And so please always, you know, we want this to be a community where you tell us things. We have one listener, Coach Steph, who's so awesome, who always like, I love it when she weighs in on stuff because she has such a great perspective and experience as well.
We love you, Coach Steph.
Yes, thank you. But yeah, this is. it feels weird to not talk about the Idaho 4 case because it has been just in all our media for so long now, and it finally has come to an end. And so we're just always interested in the how and the why of things, and in all aspects, the how and the why we consume this information, the how and the why these things happen, and if there's a way to mitigate it, to prevent it, moving forward, if there is a way. And we're obviously big proponents of mental health, especially Shannon. And I've benefited from it. I don't think I'd be here if I didn't have early intervention when I was younger. So yeah,
You're the person who basically got me to go to therapy for the first time.
that's right.
Like
That's
I was
right.
like, therapy?
This is
And
just so I played a small role in you becoming a therapist.
yeah, you're to blame.
I'm to blame.
You're the one to blame.
Yeah. But
No, I love
yes,
it. I Yeah.
and you're an awesome therapist too.
Thank you.
I mean, I'm biased because you're like my friend,
That
but
means a
yeah,
lot to
no,
me.
no, I always go to you. I'm like, what about this? And you're like, well, there's this philosophy. Poochie, come on up.
I think
Um,
you could be a therapist, but
I feel like I would just always be anxious about my clients.
let's end on our nonprofit note.
Yes, yes.
Let's
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
do it. You
take
do
it
it.
away. Me?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So all right, so Shannon and I, if it isn't completely obvious that we are animal lovers, we love our animals. Shannon rescued Ginger. I rescued, or I got Bruno, who's exposing himself to you guys right now here. Um,
Show them his balls. I'm just kidding.
but he's from a rescue, and we love animals, and we're trying to think of what we could do with our love of animals, and the fact that the gentleman that was fostering Bruno, talk to him pretty regularly, and he'll send me pictures of different. I mean, it's mostly Frenchies that he works with, because there is such a crisis with French bulldogs being overbred and then dumped, but really any dog. But he'll reach out to me, and I was saying, like, man, if there was only something we could do. And so Shannon and I realized that, what if we started a nonprofit where we help support fosters? Obviously we encourage people to adopt, don't shop, but we also support fosters, because a lot of times folks will want to foster, but they don't have the means. They think, well, I'd love to, but like, it's expensive. There's dog food, there's bedding, there's toys, there's all kinds of stuff. And a lot of times the rescues are overwhelmed just with their immediate needs.
Hmm.
And so we decided to start a nonprofit where we support fosters financially, and help them, with supplies. At present, I usually will pull together supplies, and take them to this guy Mike, who's amazing. He's such a loving dude, and he at any given time has like 7 dogs that he's taking care of. So that's really hard to manage.
Mm.
And so, we're hoping to be able to get support, grants, donations, et cetera, to make it possible to encourage people to foster, and to help them with vet bills, because also sometimes there's special needs animals that, people are reluctant to help them or to foster because of the bills associated with rescues.
Hmm.
So that is what we have done, and we will update you. We are waiting for approval now, right? That's kind of what we're doing. But yeah, that is the positive note that we'll end on. We'll have more information, of course, as it comes.
So
Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on
follow us.
Instagram at Secret Passage Podcast, on X at Secret Pass Pod, and
TikTok now.
TikTok. Yes, is what are we? Secret Passage Podcast.
Hmm.
Yes, and yeah, we finally got a TikTok, and we also have our Patreon, which we would love it if you would subscribe. If you pay to subscribe, if you do the paid subscription, you get bonus episodes and videos, etc.
Yes,
But
and we have
thank you guys
some
so
free
much.
content. Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
there's some free
Yeah, yeah,
content
yeah.
too if you guys just want to, join but not pay, whatever. Yeah, but thank you guys as always for listening.
Thanks for listening.
We'll see you next time.